What are the most overrated and underrated Nickelodeon shows in your opinion? And I'm not going SpongeBob because I don't consider it 90s. I consider it a 2000 show.
That's fair.
So I'm gonna stick with 90s. And as far as my 2 cents go, the most overrated show. Welcome to Splat Attack, a 90s podcast honoring the slime-filled past. I'm your leader of the controlled chaos, Alex.
I'm your excitable participant of the chaos, Manny.
I am your observer of the chaos, Kiley.
And I'm Jorde, and I just want you guys to all stay in chaos. I think we got enough chaos.
I love you used controlled chaos.
Yes, yes.
Organized chaos.
It's organized chaos.
All chaos come together to make super chaos.
Super chaos.
And for this episode, Kat was scheduled to be here with us, but she's had something come up and wasn't able to join us for this episode. So, Kat, we love you. We miss you. We're sorry that you couldn't be here for this. But she did give us notes prior to the episode recording, so we can talk about the things that she mentioned. But this is our season overview for season 7. And I know we always say this in these episodes, you know, gosh, it feels like it went so fast. It did, though. Last
the
season,
fastest of any season.
it did. Because last season, I mean, we got a whole bunch of stuff done at the beginning of the season, and the second half felt like it took longer because we got all of our stuff done. So all we had to do was just worry about the main episodes, and we were finished. This season, it was nonstop all the way through because even Manny was like, "This whole season's a blur."
Yeah, it just all because like it happened during the holidays too, because it's like there's so much chaos going on in our personal lives,
Right.
and then the show, and then this and that and the other thing. So
I saw that look,
combine all those things together, and it's like, it's crazy. That's why it was a blur.
Now, not to say it was a bad season at all, especially behind the scenes. It was a fantastic season. Just a lot happened. So let's dive in and talk about some of the things that happened this season. So first of all,
Lettuce.
lettuce. I like lettuce.
You want lettuce? You talk to me.
So
I'm your representative of lettuce.
So we had some new changes, some pretty big changes this year. The first being every season of the show leading up to this one, we would always drastically change the design of the season to give it a new look. And we're trying to really get this to be um, a brand for us, a far more business-like. But still, we don't want it to look corporate. We want it to look us. So we decided we need to find a look that is going to stay and keep it that way from this point on. So this season, we officially opened digitally, of course, Splat Attack Studios that my guy Jorde frickin' put together, and it looks fan-frickin-tastic,
Well,
if I do say so myself.
It looks amazing.
And I want to give credit where credit is due because Kiley's roommate, Mallory,
Mallory Mize.
she helped us with the logo, the splat that you guys see. She helped put that together for us, and she did a fantastic job with that.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I did the basic splat. She came up with some different color schemes and well, fonts and things, and helped put the whole thing together for us. Jorde punched up the design a little bit, so a big thank you to both Jorde and Mal for their hard work. It
looks great with what she made.
Great work there. If I do say so myself, but we've had a lot of people say that too. Comment on how excited they were with all of this put together, and we just did an interview earlier this week with a young lady named Chris, and she was talking about how she loves the aesthetic and how great the thing looks, the color scheme that we use. And we get this quite a bit. Also, something new this season was the introduction of the girls' room. Kylie, what has that been like?
Well, I'm also new.
Yes?
This
That's
was
true.
new
This is
for
true.
me as a full-timer. Girls' Room was really fun. It was the one thing I was the most worried about pitching in our annual meeting, and I was like, I don't know if they're gonna like this. And then Manny had the same idea.
The exact same idea.
And I was like, okay, this is a good one. It's been so fun. I love having Kat there with me as my co-host and having Heather and Megan join us when they can. It's unlocked so many like memories that I've forgotten over the years because my brain was like, that's not important. But like reliving our games and music and fashion and it's been so fun. And even the feedback we've gotten, like people really have given us good feedback. And like Cortland,
Yes.
I did an episode with them and Cortland was like, yeah, I look forward to what you guys talk about. He was like, because that's not stuff I did, so I'm learning more stuff. And I was like, yeah, it's so fun. So yeah, it's been a good time.
And also like the female perspective of the 90s and what females went through is the most interesting thing.
90s was like 90s was the start of, girl power. Like you know, you had the fight for equality starting before us, but like it's 90s shifted it into girl power, and it was such a poignant time for being a young girl, and I'm glad we got to do deep dives in it.
And it's just starting because we are going to bring it back next season. Going to keep it going.
Season 2. Expect deeper and weirder dives because this first season we kept it general, and then when Alex is like, you want to do it again, and we were like, yes we do. So we're gonna get weird and deep. Join us.
And yes, the introduction to Kylie this season. She helped us out behind the scenes previously in last season, but this season, not this year, this season she was more in the forefront. And I'm very, very happy to have her join us. She joined us for a couple main episodes as co-host, which we'll get to in some of our highlights, I'm sure. I think that was pretty much it as far as major changes. We had one major event, but do we have any? I can't think of any other changes we had to our lineup or anything like that. Can you guys?
I don't think so.
But probably our biggest, especially personally, highlight, which I think all of us will talk about, and I've got it in changes, but it's not quite a change. It's still probably the biggest highlight is when 4 out of 5 of us got to finally meet in person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and we went to the now defunct SplatCon.
We went to Los Angeles. It was
we
great.
we
You
went
took
to
a
LA.
vacation in LA for a
City of
weekend.
Angels.
Got to hobnob in a bar for about 3 hours with some Nickelodeon celebrities.
I
But
was kicked out for that too, so yeah.
no, you were not.
Hobnobbing in public. How dare you?
But that was freaking awesome.
It was.
We've got not an Instagram. We have a live episode talking about it, along with Jasmine talking about her time on 90s Con. So if you guys want to hear more about that, go check out that story. I do have some behind the scenes videos that I'm going to be putting up very, very soon. So be on the lookout for that because I'm hoping to get those out between seasons. So you guys will probably be seeing that within the next upcoming week.
And I just want to give a shout out because if someone does great things, I need to shout it out. I know you all probably get this from just listening or watching our videos, but Manny is the sweetest human being.
Yes, he is.
Oh.
He really
Yes,
is.
he is.
I could not be there in LA, and so Manny got me a little keychain with sand in it and sent it to me, and he was like, we missed you. And so I just need to give you all the props because that was the absolute sweetest and I felt so included. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. We love you, of course.
Yeah, you're part of the group.
Absolutely. And man, that means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
And-
we
I will meet Manny in person. We live in the same city.
Yes,
We just haven't done it yet.
it will happen.
And we loved getting together so much. I mean, I've seen Kiley numerous times because we grew up in.
We've been friends for a very long time.
But this was my first time getting to meet everybody else, and Kiley still hasn't had that opportunity yet. But
It's gonna happen.
we loved getting together so much, and we were just saying in that previous interview that I was talking about. You know how sometimes when you meet each other online and then you finally see each other in person and you're happy to see each other, and then it's okay, I know so little about you, and then there's that awkward, how did I get to know this person? That was not there. That was not there at all when we
With
I don't
me,
get
there
that
was.
for a
We try to
moment.
go in for a hug or handshake, and we're like,
Liar. You broke
Yes.
some ribs with your big bear hugs. But it was family. We are family, and we love getting together so much that we've decided we're going to try to do this once a year, where we all get together. So you'll probably see more content throughout the show where we'll finally be in person. But we're going to dive into some of our personal highlights. They could be moments or they could be episodes, whatever they may be. I'm going to start with cats, and then I'll let one of you guys take over. I'll do mine last. But
I have tiny ones. I'll go first after Kat.
okay. Kat, she of course said meeting in person was one of her highlights, and I'm sure that's going to be all of us. But the Allegra's Window episode was one of her favorites, which I will admit that was also one of mine. Seeing those guys together, first of all, seeing the puppets was absolutely adorable. The stories these guys had, especially Tim Lagasse, were hysterical. If you guys haven't seen that episode, go check that one out. She also listed the most recent episode, the Are You Afraid of the Dark? Tale of the Chameleons versus Space Cases, Trouble with Doubles, that we got to do with Cortland from Up All Night Podcast as one of her favorite episodes, which it's Space Cases. I can't imagine why that was one of her
Why would
favorites.
she be
Well,
doing that?
the coolest thing about it was too is she brought Space Cases to a new fan.
Yes.
Which was Cortland, who's never
Yes.
seen it.
Yes.
So that, of course, was uplifting, I'm sure.
And hopefully getting some more people to go check that show out, which is also part of, I mean, it's part of why we do this. It's like,
Well,
oh yes, you
Cortland
all
watched the
know
whole
these
show,
episodes.
didn't he?
He
Right?
watched the whole
Yeah, he
thing.
watched the whole
entire
thing.
series just to prepare for the one episode. So there's some
I-
dedication.
I stumbled upon because I think I watched Space Cases, but I think it was one of those ones that I only caught a couple episodes of, but it wasn't something I attached onto as a kid. But as an adult, Kat unlocked my memory of Space Cases existing, and then oh gosh, what is her name? Is her first name Jewel? No.
Yeah, Jewel State.
Yeah, Jewel she's on TikTok. And I keep stumbling upon her TikTok, and some of them are her talking about Space Cases and the rainbow wigs and all this stuff. And I was like, this is so great. Every time I see him, I try and send him to Kat.
And another episode that she said was one of her favorites was the Splat Chats episode where we talked about our Christmas memories, which I can't speak on her behalf, but I do remember her making a post on social media. Christmas can just sometimes be another day, but being able to relive some of the old traditions and things that you loved as a kid, and it helped bring some of that magic back for at least for a few minutes for her. And I was really happy that we were able to bring some of that back.
Especially talking about it too, because it brings it more on light.
But she also listed the Secret World of Alex Mack 30th anniversary episode because that was one of her favorites as well. At least I believe it was one of her favorites. And you can never go wrong with Tom Lynch and Ken Lippman. Those two guys are a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, now I remember.
And I know Kiley can confirm this as well. She also listed the Goosebumps Haunted Mask 1 versus Haunted Mask 2 because it was Joe and Kevin.
It's Joe and Kevin. You can't go wrong.
But the last thing that she has listed, and this was, and again, this is her. I'm not saying this.
I just
You-
read it.
You all see the notes. She has in here Alex's creative edits, which I know you all you've seen them, uh, and especially some of the After Dark segment.
I know I'm fired.
But those are Kat's highlights that she had listed. Kylie, what were yours?
I have some short ones. So my first season as an official crew member, I absolutely loved it. Thank you guys so much for having me. I love it here. I may not be as forward facing as I would like because unfortunately I'm a very busy lady. I wish I could spend all my time here. Believe me, I would love it. But I'm here. Girls Room. I absolutely love doing Girls Room. I love that everybody was on board for that. I love that Heather and Megan specifically requested to come do it with us. And that was just I tell Alex every season that like something happened that like it heals a little part of my inner child. But there's something so special about Girls Room and getting to revisit my girlhood and it was so fun this year and I can't wait to do it for next season. The Rugrats Hanukkah episode, I had so much fun. Like we got so many behind the scenes stories just about the animators and and looking at it from an artistic point of view. That was I think one of my favorite things is him talking about the different vantage like viewpoints and like how he used light and all of that, and I just absolutely loved it. And I think my absolute favorite, which again every season I tell Alex, because before it was always I would guest and he would always give me really cool things, and every season I'm always like, oh, this is the coolest thing. I don't know how you're gonna top it. Um, the best friends episode with Jim and Craig. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. Doug and Hey Arnold are like two of my very special ones. Rugrats is my third, but getting to meet Jim, like I'm really glad you didn't include this in the after hours, but like I promised him that I wouldn't cry, and I promised him that I wouldn't freak out. Because I mean Jim had a hand in so many things we all loved as kids.
Yeah.
And watching the two of them meet each other and just throw back and forth and like again the behind the scenes stuff, learning about how they each approached the characters and what their inspirations were, and it was so fun. And that is by far the coolest thing I've done so far on this show. Like my face hurt afterwards because I was
Yes.
smiling so much. It was just I don't know how you're gonna top it, Alex.
Oh, I'll find a way.
It was such a good episode because
Yeah.
having Jim say, "I love you, Craig. I'm a fan of yours."
Yeah,
That is
and he
such a
was
great
and like
part.
he was like, I'm gonna go watch that show. I need to know what you're talking about. And I'm like, this is insane.
Can I get your autograph?
Yeah.
So let's switch now. Jordy, I'm going to put you on the spot. What were some highlight moments for you, man?
Oh man, well, so many of my highlights have already been said, but I guess there's no harm in going back through them. But I mean, meeting in person was great. I live in LA, so it wasn't like me going out to LA or anything and getting stuck here. But it was all of my friends coming out to LA and then getting stuck here, and so I hope everybody still had a good time. We tried to make the most of it and tried to
It
go
looked
around
did.
like
and
you
do as
guys
much
had
as
a
we could.
blast.
It
And I'm
was the
so
best.
sad I couldn't have been there.
The only downsides were getting crammed in the car and sitting in traffic, but you can't avoid that. in this
No.
city. So
It's LA. There's
And-
no
you
way.
know,
And
but they got
even
the
that,
full tour.
even that, we had some really fun stories.
That-
And just
yeah,
in the
that's
We
car.
left Alex in the car.
We left Alex in
We-
the car. Alex
we
became a
did.
shirt ghost for a little while.
Yep.
We had all sorts of stuff happening, but it was a great time. It was really cool, and it's always cool to have people that your friends come into your area. You get to take them around and show them all the stuff. So yeah, and I mean, what you guys were all there except for you, Kylie, unfortunately, but you were there in spirit, and we had a great time. So it was really a standout moment. And then another big one for me was just the graphics this season. I know we stepped up the game last season as well. We're trying to do the warehouse style, but we finally have Splat Attack Studios made. And I mean, between going through the reference material for old Nickelodeon, which was super nostalgic, and trying to recreate the slime geyser and building out all the rooms, and it's a full functioning studio. And one day we will give tours of it, if only digitally, probably. But you'll get to see how it all connects. You gotta get to see it in the beginning, but one day you'll get to walk around the whole thing digitally. But yeah, it was such a fun thing to put together. And to have it be like one concrete building that's got all these rooms dedicated to all of our different shows and episodes. And yeah, it was really fun. I mean, building out the slime kitchen, building out the office, that desk, that old style Nickelodeon desk, that there was a similar style desk at a Nickelodeon studio, so we tried to inform some of the graphic styles that we did from old Nick, obviously. And it was just really cool. It's really cool to look at. It's one of my favorite parts of every episode, getting to start off looking at that studio. Yeah, it's super nostalgic. So that was a really fun part for me, was getting able to put the graphics together and then get to see them used all at season long, which is always super fun. And Alex does a great job with the editing to tie it all together and make them look good. So that was another big one for me. Okay, and then yeah, so I mean, there were so many cool episodes, all the animation episodes. The Jim Jenkins, Craig Bartlett episode was crazy. Having two animators from these huge shows come together and talk to each other
For the
it just
first time.
I know it's I mean, to think that happened under this umbrella of Splat Attack. I mean, after all these years, I mean, you think working at the same studio and working and having two of the top cartoons on Nickelodeon for a long time, that they would have crossed each other's paths and talked more often. But yeah, it was really cool to have them, and kind of a trip to see them talking to each other, because I mean, it's like having Doug Funny and Arnold in a room together, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the biggest, but I mean, it was a great season. And I mean, having Kylie here and having Girls Room start is cool, because I'm a boy. And it's not that I didn't get exposed to stuff that were for girls. I have an older sister, so a lot of the 90s was spent, and she's old, so I have to get dragged around to what she does. She doesn't have to get dragged around to what I do. So it was cool to relive some of that stuff and then find out some new stuff as well. So that's the cool stuff about this podcast, is you're reliving memories and you're making new ones. So, and Collector's Corner too. We had some very cool Collector's Corners this season. So everybody that came for Collector's Corner, thank you for sharing your collections. It's just really cool. I'm a collector as well. I love collecting stuff. So seeing other people's collections, what they're able to grab, it's insane. I think Russ had some insane stuff in his collection. Everybody does, though. Everybody collects specifically different stuff, whether it's show memorabilia, or toys, or everyone has their own fixations. So when you get to see these collections from somebody who fixates on something, you get the obvious stuff, but then you get stuff that you wouldn't even think, like the menu from Saved by the Bell. That was really cool to see. And so yeah, it was a cool season. It was really
Newspaper
cool
props and stuff.
Newspapers
and
that have
jackets.
gibberish, like government definitions.
Government definitions of stuff.
Oh man.
Well,
But yeah, it was a great time.
Manny, what about you? What are your highlights, buddy?
I have to say, I'm gonna be repeating a lot of stuff that's already been said, so I'll just go through it really quick. The first thing being Girls Room. That's the most amazing thing ever. I'm thrilled about it. Because I mean, the whole idea too, you know, it's like as soon as Kiley did the episode with us of the 45th anniversary of Nickelodeon, and then there was talk about her joining the crew and everything, that was literally one of the first thoughts in my head. It was like, all right, we have an equal number of girls and guys here, so we need a nostalgic talk about female oriented 90s things that happened, and boom, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
seeing every episode, I love it. um Trust me, everything has been amazing.
And
Of course.
just a behind the scenes thing. Manny's not lying. We did the Geraldine Laybourne episode,
Yes.
and within 2 days, I got a, hey, would you ever think about being on the podcast? Everybody really likes you. We're talking about it. I just want to feel it out. And I was like, oh no, that'd be cool. Yeah, just let me know. And then within the next day, it was like, okay, you want to be in the podcast full time? And I was like, oh, okay. It was just boom, boom, boom.
Do you still think the theme of your time here on the podcast is still In the Danger Zone, or has it changed to a different song?
Oh,
Oh,
that's
gosh.
a good thing.
I forgot all about that question.
Yeah.
On the spot. I don't think it's Danger Zone. I'll put some thought into it, and I'll have a song for you in a little bit.
No
Runaway
props.
Train.
I was thinking that, or like Easy Rider.
Ah, that's a good one. But all the Splat chats, I love every time whenever we get together and talk, and just BS. It could be either like on topic or sometimes not even on topic. So a quick story, long story short, when we were doing the Jim Carrey episode, we literally got in a conversation about Disney parks. That took about 15 to 20 minutes. So it's like Kat immediately said, we now conclude our bonus episode of Splat Chats talking about Disney parks. That is perfect. So it's
It
like
is
you
hard
get
to
us all,
stay on topic.
but it's fun. That's the best part about it,
It
because
is.
it's so fluent and so like relaxing, talking about like whatever it is that you want to talk about. The slime lights, of course, but the one that stood out to me was the Michelle Trachtenberg episode, because going into that episode, I didn't really have much to say. And with all of our topics, they bounced back and forth. So it's like we were doing freaking gymnastics with topics, because they were twist and turning to so many things, from either Matthew Broderick to House to Doctor Who to Twilight. So it's like it went all over the place, but I still rewatch that one. It's hilarious. That's one of my favorite episodes we've done. Making a slime stream. Now that was a lot of fun. I made well, actually this is Kiley's idea. She wanted to see the shorts of Nickelodeon, and as for me, I loved the shorts of Nickelodeon, so I dug deep and I got a bunch together, make a compilation of them, and just we did a slime stream and showed those. So that was a lot of fun to make that.
He sent it to me, so don't worry. I got to see it. Tuesday's one of my busy nights, so Manny emailed it to me.
Of course, of course. And the other thing too, Alex actually helped me set up a slime stream for myself as well. There was one day where Alex couldn't do it, and so Alex did literally a step-by-step process of how to do it, and we did it. I was like, and I'm the most technology not very good at type of person, so that helped out so much. And I also want to shout out Kat as well, because we had trouble with the audio, and Kat just said, if you move this over here and play it on your screen, and it worked. So it was an amazing team effort, and that worked out so well. Our live episodes, I love doing the live episodes. Those are so much fun. Being able to like talk live to the fans and talk to you guys again. It's always a treat talking to you guys. The Wienerville election special. Anytime Mark and Max is on, you know, Wienerville's my favorite show. There's no lie. And it's just great seeing them and talking to them together. And it was also one of Kat's ideas too, where it's like she said she's never met Mark. So I was like, let's just have Kat on the episode. She had a really great time on that one as well. The All Real Monsters episode, that episode, we recorded that on my birthday, and I had a really, really bad day. It was just not a good day at work at all. So doing that night, well, Heather came home from work and she gave me a little surprise. She gave me a little chocolate cake with some wine and some Count Chocula. So
Nice.
yeah, that was my birthday.
I'm a
And then
Frankenberry girl.
nice. It's still a good
I'm a
one.
chocula,
Same.
chocolate, team
Chocula.
chocula.
Team Chocula. So I had a little bit of that, and then we did the record, and it was just a really fun record. So if anyone wants to go back and watch that episode, that is genuine like joy and laughs that are coming out of me right there. It was just a really great way to end the night.
That was a fun episode.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was. And of course the After Dark edits, those are great. I absolutely love those. It's our live, it's almost like a live radio show where it's like everything goes and it's just so much fun.
I feel like as much as I love those, I'm going to dread it each season because I'm going to be like, oh no,
I forgot I said this.
what did Alex choose this time? Maybe it's still Danger Zone, Manny.
Maybe it is.
The Doug versus episode, it was really great to finally talk about the Disney Doug and the Nickelodeon Doug as well. So that one was a lot of
It
fun.
had
and
to be
hopefully-
done.
It did. It had to be done because really,
You have to have the hard conversations. You got to do
Eventually,
it.
it's got to be talked about.
yeah. But really, this season was great. Especially like almost every episode. Really, what the hell? Every episode has been just amazing, and I guess meeting each other in person was all right.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it was just okay.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, that's my list.
So for mine, again, going along with pretty much everybody's, the meeting in person was fantastic. The character study with Jim Jenkins and Craig Bartlett, the Haunted Mask episode because Joe and Kevin are fantastic people. The Allegra's Window episode, in particular Russ and Emery's Collector's Corner because of the super rare items that they had, which is really impressive. But some of the other ones that were highlights for me, it's not necessarily a Splat Attack original thing, but Splat Attack got to participate in it because both Manny and I were in Mark Cooper's second volume of the Orange Tape. And that was really fun to be part of. And Mark's responses, his texts to me, once he heard my voiceover for the first time, I'll never forget those. He was really very, very happy with what I sent. So that was fun. If you guys haven't heard the Orange Tape, go check both 1 and 2 out. They're really very, very well done.
If you love hip hop music and 90s Nick, it's really great. And plus, Alex and I are on there, so it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
And there are very few times, like I love all of our episodes, and that's not a PC answer. I love them, otherwise I wouldn't do them. But there are few times whenever the edits are so much fun that it's one of my, if I want to see something that's going to make me laugh and make me happy, I got to go to that one. The episodes with Joe and Kevin are one. But the top 5 syndicated shows that I did with Sean for the Real Life Perspective show, that one had me laughing a lot too. That was fun.
That was a fun time, yeah.
But the Splat Chats episodes, in particular, the Christmas episode that Kat had mentioned, but also the Nick at Night episode, just because it's Nick at Night. We don't get to talk about it very much, and we had a lot of fun talking about that one. But also the episode where we talked about defunct '90s stores, because we were in person for that one.
Yeah.
And that was super cool to actually get the chance to record an episode together in a very round table setting with Boney right next to us.
Yeah,
Boney.
get
was
out of
there
here.
too. A few airplanes, but we
Forgot about the airplanes. Remember, like the people that just stepped outside just to take pictures of the airplanes taking off. It's like,
Yeah.
good for you. It's fine.
get some In-N-Out burger and take a photo of a plane.
And in the Slimelight Jim Carrey episode, because I've said it in that episode how important Jim Carrey is to me, especially when I was a kid. So that was really, really very special for me to share the stories that we did in that one. The slime streams, I love doing the slime streams. I love participating in the slime streams. I love those that support the show. and getting to do these things and getting to joke and banter and learn more about each other while we're watching this stuff is fun. But also the unboxing video that Gerard had sent us that Megan and Sam and I unboxed and ate, and Megan's expressions especially crack me up.
It
It was
made me nostalgic because I got to study abroad a semester in college and I was in the UK and I watched you eat snacks and I was like, oh man.
so we had a lot of fun this season. We had a lot of fun this season, and we're gonna have more fun coming up. But first, before we get into the new stuff, let's look at what our viewers and listeners had to say, because I looked at what our top three episodes are. Uh, we used to do both. Here's our top three most viewed and our top three most listened to. I'm not doing all that. I just put it all together and said, here are the ones that got the most traction, period. So for our main timeline, we're doing Splat by Numbers now, folks. Our number three most viewed episode, or I should say, whatever you want to call it, the one that's gotten the most attention. Number three is the 30th anniversary of The Secret World of Alex Mack. And then we have a tie, believe it or not, for both second place and first place. So, in second place, we have the. Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on. No, third place. Third place. Both The Secret World of Alex Mack, but also the Haunted Mask and Haunted Mask 2 episode. So
Yay!
those two were tied for third place, most attention. In second place, we have our third Nick Takes Over Your School episode and the character study with Skeeter and Gerald from Doug and Hey Arnold. And hands down, easily, our most viewed main timeline episode is the 30th anniversary of Allegra's Window. I mean,
Yay.
by a long shot, which was really impressive to see that so many people loved that as much as they do. But on our main timeline, we also have our minisodes. We've had conversation with Girls Room and Collector's Corner. So on our main timeline, the three most viewed minisodes, our number three was the Developed Stories episode for Girls Room, where they talked about books. And the number two episode is Collector's Corner, where we had Schuler. That wasn't his name, but that's what he goes by on
Oh, Skylar.
yeah, Skylar is his name. But
Oh, the
that's not
VHS guy.
that's not how
Yeah.
he spells his name on social media. Like Shul the dude. So yeah,
Shul the
all the
dude.
VHS collections and the custom made stuff.
Oh, I
Oh,
loved that one.
he
That was
that many sodas are second most viewed, and then number one was Collector's Corner with Emery, who was
Okay,
the
yeah.
nostalgic dog dad, which does not surprise me because he threw out a lot of shout outs in that episode to people that helped him along the way. So I'm sure they all checked the episode out.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, we have our Patreon exclusive episodes. So the ones that we got the most views, our number three was our video games episode of Splat Chats.
Hey.
really.
And yeah, I don't know what it was about that one, but
Oh,
overall,
I know what it was.
I think I do too.
Mary Jane.
oh
Mary
gosh, I forgot I shared that story. Number two is Sam Reacts, where we looked at more toy commercials, which I'm happy to see Sam get up there in the top three. And then number one is a tie, stripe for stripe. It's in the Slime Light Michelle Trachtenberg episode. Gee, I wonder why. But also the Nick at Night episode of Splat Chats.
Okay.
Nice.
And the last thing I have for you guys this season, we did start something new by releasing our big episodes that were on Patreon. We're keeping all the minisodes back behind the paywall, again, so we can keep the financial support going because show costs money to keep going.
Yeah.
But the main episodes, the ones that we did with Brett, and they were huge, long hour-and-a-half to 2 hour long episodes, like our main episodes, we decided to let those out publicly once every 2 weeks. So those episodes, the ones released from the Slime Vault, the number 3 episode is the Are You Afraid of the Dark Tale of the Silent Servant versus the Goosebumps episode Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. Which I think that was that your first episode, Jorde?
I believe it was. Yeah. No, well, there might have been one earlier on that I came on, but that was like the full main episode that I did, and that was a really fun time. I mean, that was, oh man, get me talking about Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark? I can go forever.
I think that
But
was
yeah,
the
that was a great
first
one.
solo episode with you because
Yeah.
you were on our 90s Halloween commercial
Yep,
episodes.
Exactly. Right.
Like, that was
Yeah.
season 1, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been here a few times earlier on Sprinkle, but that was the first full episode that I was a part of, really. And yeah, it was God, it was a great time. Super fun talking Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps. Takes me back, man. Takes me back.
And our number 2 most viewed episode was our favorite romantic 90s moments, which was our first episode. It was our first bonus episode, and it's tracked well. And
was that Megan's first episode too?
That was Megan's first episode, and that was also Monica's first episode. So we got to introduce our spouses for this episode. That was really cool. And it's almost Valentine's Day, guys. Good chance to go watch that episode again. And our number 1 most viewed episode so far, released from the Slime Vault, is our top 5 favorite birthday episodes, which also was very, very special. So go check those out. But we have more. We've got changes that we're going to introduce next season. They won't take us long to talk about those. And we also have questions submitted from all of you in our segment coming up soon. But first, we're going to take a moment. We're going to collect our thoughts before we get to answering these questions. We're going to go to a commercial break. There's a lot going on, guys. So stick around in the commercial breaks. Don't skip it. Don't skip it. Listen to them because we got some cool stuff. And we'll be right back.
Chill for a couple. We'll be back.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Splat Attack. If you are enjoying this episode, please hit the like button, subscribe, make sure to hit that notification bell. If you are listening on a podcast app, please leave us a review. These small actions from you have a big impact on us.
Looking for more connection with others that love the 90s? Join us over on Patreon. We have bonus minisodes every Friday, slime streams twice a month, early access to our main episodes, and more. Go to patreon.com/splatattack to join a community of gakoids that share the nostalgia.
Let your 90s kid fly with some merch from our Bonfire store. Go to bonfire.com/store/splatattack store with hyphens in between, where we have our logo on t-shirts or coffee mugs. We also have some throwbacks to various 90s Nickelodeon shows like Clarissa, Double Dare, Stick Stickly, and more. Plus, you can play around with different types of shirts and colors. Customize your outfit with Splat Attack at bonfire.com/store/splatattack store with hyphens in between.
Keep the 90s alive by joining the free weekly digital newsletter called The 92. Grant puts out a great product that's a love letter to the 90s. Subscribe to The 92 by following the link below.
Tune in next time, Slimesters, when we kick off the new season with special surprise guests. I won't say the name, but you definitely know the address. See you all at the start of the new season on February 26.
Timeout's over.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back. We've got more episode to talk about, but before we get to the fan questions, I want to give you guys a little bit of a teaser of some of the things that we've got coming up next season. I don't want to reveal too much, but like we said at the beginning, where Jorde has made this amazing looking studio, the idea is we don't have to change it every season. We can just add to it every season.
We're doing some renovations.
We're renovating the room because I told Jorde to make it look like the wrong room.
It's okay. We were talking about 2 different rooms on different occasions,
We
and
were.
then
Too
it
many
just
girls'
wires got
rooms.
crossed. It's still absolutely beautiful. Like, it was still phenomenal. But we're gonna do some renovations, especially now that we've got our groove, and we're gonna make it a little more homey.
So the girls' room is going to look a little different next season, but hope and it should be in line with what Kiley originally had
It'll be
envisioned.
beautiful. We confirmed it twice.
So it's going to look good because it's Jorde and it always looks good. But
It's so
also
good.
also the idea was because you guys know at the end of every season, no, not the end, at the every episode has a new format. Like we might have an episode battle or a versus battle or a character study. Every episode starts with us going into the office. And right now, this whole season, it has stayed in the office. The idea is in future seasons, we'll start in the office, and then when we start the main body of topic, we'll go to the appropriate room that is going to house that topic for the day. So I will say that Jorde is going to be working on at least one of those rooms. So we're going to have a new girls' room. We're going to have a new room that you guys are going to get to check out. And then also, we're going to have a couple new minisodes, bonus minisodes. The ones that we're keeping on the main timeline, they're all staying the same next season. But over on Patreon, we are going to do away for now with Sam Reacts and Meg Reacts. I have done nothing but Reacts videos with my family since we started Patreon. And I I have a lot of commercials, but I'm starting to retread some territory, and I want to do something a little new. And also, we're going to be doing away with Game On next season because I'm running out of 90s games here, and I have to go buy them, and it gets a little pricey after a while. So trying to save on the Spot Attack budget. So with that in mind, we have two new mini-sodes coming up, which is a combination idea. I think both of these were from Manny, but one of them is called Retrograde, because one of my favorite things to talk about is movies. I love to talk about movies, and we haven't really had much of an opportunity to do that because Nickelodeon hasn't had a lot of movies. So this upcoming season, we're going to start reviewing movies, but they have to be 90s or before. So nostalgic movies. The second minisode that we're going to do, and this is kind of in line with a couple that we've done already, because we did one episode that was movies we love that everyone hates, and then we did another one that was the opposite, movies we hate that everybody loves. And they're kind of hot take episodes in a way. And it was kind of a fun thing to do. So we're going to start a new series called Is It Me? Which is pretty much all hot takes. And they don't all have to be retro, nostalgic, anything. Just I have a different opinion and I'd like to talk about it. And that's very much what that's going to be. And also, we have a new segment that we're going to come up with because some of these shows, especially on some of the ones that Brent and I had talked about in previous episodes, certain episodes, they're really, really good until the end. And then they just flop the ending, especially some Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes. So we're going to start a new segment called Can You Top This? Where we rewrite the ending to the episode just to see if we could tie it up a little nicer. But those are the big changes that we've got coming up next season. If you guys want a little bit of a taste of what we're going to have, I don't want to give too much away. Yes, we're going to have some special guests coming in, and I'm really, really excited about that. I will say that yes, we're going to have some guest reunion episodes like we usually do, which is a really weird thing to say. Like usual, we're having reunion episodes. But we are. We got a couple already scheduled. We are going to have another game show episode. Uh, we're we did this exclusively on Patreon for one episode, but we're going to try to bring this back. So in March, for March Madness, we're going to do an elimination bracket episode. So that's going to be new. So be on the lookout for March Madness. I will say that we're going to have some old faces return, or I should say, an old face. Not that this person is old, return for a couple episodes next season. And I'm very, very excited about that. And also, next season, we're going to have our 100th episode, our main episode, 100th one. So we're going to do something special for that. And we got some pretty cool stuff coming up. And also, our first Cartoon Network episode. We did do a conversation where we talked with the writer who did Courage the Cowardly Dog, but we didn't really talk about the show that much. We talked about him and his contributions. But this time we're actually going to do a Cartoon Network episode. That's going to be our every episode we have one, or every season we have one episode that's outside of Nick. And Manny and I, we're really excited.
I'm incredibly excited for that episode.
But with that out of the way, we're going to dive into some fan submitted questions. We're going to try to plow through these as quick as we can because now we've got Shout Out Your Lungs Out.
Shout Your Lungs Out is a segment that we are doing.
Out of here. I was just about to do that. I was just about to do it because she wasn't here and I was going to do it for her. Ah, smack you. All right, our very first question. Some of these, we got a few from the same people on some of these, which is fine. I'm happy to have these questions. So our first one is from Ryan over at Smigalodian. When is the next game show episode? It's going to be next season. I don't want to tell you when because I know if I say when, you're probably going to piece together which game show it is. So I'm not going to say when, but I am going to say we're going to have another game show episode next season. And Trent?
I would say Kaggle Trent.
Cackle Trent? No, I'm going to say Kenkles. Kenkles Trent, because that's what I have, wants to know, what is your favorite Nickelodeon game show? Kiley, what is your favorite Nick game show?
Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Jorde?
It's Double Dare for me. Mark Summers makes it possible. He's one of the best hosts that Nickelodeon ever had, and
That's my close second.
yeah, I could always get his comedy while he does the show is hilarious. It just adds the whole extra level to it. So Double Dare for me. Any of the Double Dares.
Manny?
They're all very classic. I think Guts was the only one that I didn't really connect with because it was a little too sporty for me. But I'll just have to go with Legends. It's my all-time favorite.
I'm gonna go with Make the Grade. Lou Schneider, man, he was so funny.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going with that. My real answer is Figure It Out. I love Figure It Out, which I go into more in depth on our favorite game shows episode, which was a Patreon exclusive, which will be released into the main timeline eventually. The Nostalgia Channel asks, favorite guest you've ever had? That is probably going to be the same answer for all of us. So I'm going to limit this question and say for this season, who was your favorite guest that we've had this season? And I'm going to say Jim Jenkins. I've had him on a few times, and I can never get enough of Jim Jenkins, ever.
I'm biased, Mark and Max, but really everybody was fantastic this season.
They were.
Especially the Allegra's Windows cast. I couldn't get enough of those puppets and everybody's stories.
Mine is, I feel like I just want to put them together because the experience was so good. It was Jim and Craig. Just that episode of Jim and Craig and just watching them like learn about each other in real time, but then also have this like kinship of familiarity. It was beautiful.
So it's tough for me because, like Manny said, there was a lot of great guests this season, and I mean, between celebrities and collectors and fans and other content creators, it's been tough. So I'm going to pull kind of a wild card one. It wasn't someone that was on an episode with us, but it was someone that we met this season. It was Joe Torres. It was really cool to meet Joe Torres.
I heard all your
I don't know if I'll ever get to meet him
stories.
again or see him again. But the small amount of time we got to talk to him, he was a really nice guy. He was really down to earth. And it was just it was a really cool situation just getting to talk to him. It was outside of the bar that we were at, so it wasn't as crowded as it was when we met every other celebrity. We got to be a little bit more personal and talk to him a little bit more directly. So it was really cool to see Joe and get to talk to him and just get to kind of hear his perspective on the show since no one's heard anything from him for so long.
He was my favorite on Hey Dude. I was so jealous.
He
You
was
guys
great
got to
on
hang
Hey
out
Dude.
with him. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
I have to thank Alex too, because Alex saw him just standing and he did in his very Alex way. He's over there. You can talk to him. And I'm just like, oh, I don't know. I don't want to. I'm too nervous or whatever. And he's like, just go ahead and do it. And we talked. It was amazing. So it was cool. I have to thank.
I do have a bonus one I want to throw in there. When Manny got to sing the Boney song,
Yes.
With Phil Moore.
Exactly, with Phil Moore at that bar. It was that was a great time. And the smile on both their faces was priceless.
Leave me alone. Yeah. What's up, Mark Wiener? Wienerville, get out of here.
Big John asks, what Nick celeb would you ideally like to interview?
First thing that pops in my head is Lori Beth.
It's a tie between Kirk Fogg and Angelique Bates.
It's a tough one for me because I got to meet and talk to the one
You got who you wanted.
my number one person I wanted to talk to. I mean, the only difference between is, if things had been different, maybe, Pat would be with us, and if he could have been there, that would have been awesome. That would have made it just that much more complete. But that Shelby Woo episode, Irene was great. Everybody was great. It was a great time. So, I mean, outside, if I don't consider that one, I would have to say Kirk Fogg as well. Kirk Fogg, I have so many questions. Or Mark Summer, to be fair. I guess I should say Mark Summer because Double Dare was my favorite game show. But there's so many more questions I have about the logistics of doing Legends versus Double Dare, which you kind of understand how to fill a bucket with green oatmeal, right? But you're like, where were you coming from when you drop in?
Right.
Are you just walking around on a catwalk up there till the episode starts? Did that ever snap?
My honorable mention is Keenan and Kel.
It's really weird to say, oh my gosh, I've gotten to talk with so many people that I've wanted to.
Right.
I've hit those goals, but there's still that Rushmore that I yet to get. But I will say I did get to meet this guy at the bar, but I haven't gotten to interview him yet, and that's Josh Server. I would love to hear about his story. But Josh Server, he posted on Instagram a very short story about how he struggled with sobriety for a very long time. And now he is sober, and he's been that way for a while. But he has a very beautiful story, and I would love to hear that story. I mean, I want to hear about his career, but I want to hear that because and I'm not looking for dirt. I'm looking for a very real story how he came out triumphant by the end, because somebody needs to hear that story because they're struggling with something very similar. And Lori Beth also has a very similar story, I believe, and I want to hear hers as well. I don't know if they would be willing to share it, but I don't know. Maybe one day they will. Ryan Caleb Smith asks, when do you think Nickelodeon has gone downhill? I'm going to answer this, and I'm pretty sure all of us have a similar answer, if not the same answer. So if you guys have your own different opinions, then you can weigh in, obviously. But in my opinion, it's when Nickelodeon really tasted massive success with SpongeBob. And then they started to shift more towards corporate and focus groups and what's going to make us money, and less on let's find content creators that are wanting about connecting to their audience. And that was when that really started to take place, which is why I hate SpongeBob as much as I do.
I thought it happened around like 98 or 99 when Nickelodeon started to just pretty much go with one producer for everything that they did, other than the big collection of some freelance people that they actually made shows to do something different. But no, they were just all carbon copy of the same thing. So if you taste success, they want to go with what makes money, and that's unfortunately where it went.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think it was, SpongeBob played a huge role in it. It taught them kind of what Manny's referring to, which is like once they learn that they could make money off of doing this, why do anything else, right? Just keep cloning it and reproducing it. But a little bit of a expansion on that is, and maybe not everyone will agree with me, but I think the movies also help lead to this. When they started going into theaters, they really spent a lot of money, and I don't know, you can kind of see it with the Rugrats franchise, especially as Rugrats did these movies, the show changed. And it's not always for the bad reasons, right? But it changed the show into a different kind of product. It made the show kind of a little bit more confusing if you hadn't seen the movies, like who is Kimmy, right? Um, I don't know. I think those movies, in a large part, kind of shifted Nickelodeon out of this like bootstrap channel network that was making these small projects into like, oh, we have to compete with Disney in the box office now. And I think that kind of drove in money hungry producer types that, affect the channel because they had to bend to them to get the money. I mean, Klasky Supo, we all know, did got wrecked when they made the first Rugrats movie, and making the last ones after that didn't help either. But trying to do a TV show and a movie at the same time is really difficult to do, especially animation. And God bless their heart, they tried. But the movies, I do think, also contributed to it, outside of the yellow box man we don't talk about.
I Speaking of Disney, I haven't looked at the timeline, but it's really roughly what all of you are saying is it's when Nickelodeon started to feel like Disney. Like as a kid, and maybe it's just me being neurodivergent, like each channel had a different feel to it. Like it had a different feel, it had a different kind of mood, and like each one was very different. And then as time passed, they all just kind of started to line up because it was like what's popular, what's going to bring in money, like and it all started to feel the same across the board.
Uh, Smeagolodian, along with the same things. Again, Ryan, he asks, what are the most overrated and underrated Nickelodeon shows in your opinion? And I'm not going SpongeBob because I don't consider it 90s. I consider it a 2000s show. So I'm gonna stick with 90s. And as far as my 2 cents go, the most overrated show is Rugrats. And I'm not saying it's not a good show. If you think about Rugrats back in the 90s, the first 3 seasons, fan freaking tastic. And then the movies, plural, and then all the big boom in the mid to late 90s and toys everywhere. It's like, is Rugrats that good? Especially
This
this
many
new
kid likes
series?
babies. Yeah. Yeah.
I think they tooted their horn a little too much with the later half of Rugrats. So I consider that to be the most overrated Nickelodeon thing in the 90s. Underrated Roundhouse.
I agree with the Rugrats thing too, because that was all over the place. Where 99? Like 99, it was like
It
booming.
was huge.
But the thing is, I love Rugrats. That's like my number one favorite Nicktoon. But there is a difference with season 4 versus season 3. Like I love the Passover special, but a lot of people do. But I, for some reason, clicked to season 1 because of how very different it is. The animation angles are very unique, and the art style and the episodes themselves are different from season 2 and 3. So each of those are like an expansion of what the show is. But season 4 and season 5 started to feel like it was a little too kiddie. So, but not bad, but you could definitely see that there's a difference.
What's your underrated show?
Basically, like you mentioned earlier, either something from like Make the Grade, um, Wienerville, Shelby Woo, Space Cases, mostly the shows that we as a group all connect with. So,
My overrated's probably gonna ruffle a couple feathers. Um, I disagree. I by no means do I think the later Rugrats is as good as the early Rugrats, but I will take any Rugrats you will give me. I love it. I'm part of the problem, and I accept that. Um, Underrated for me personally is Pete and Pete.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for me. Well, let me say it wasn't for me. I have not gone back and tried to watch it as an adult. I've made Alex the promise that I will go back and rewatch it, and at some point we will do some kind of episode where I talk about why I don't like Pete and Pete. Underrated. I'm gonna say Hey Arnold, because it was big, but it didn't take. I don't feel like it took off as much as like Rugrats and Doug did. I feel like it was kind of the third wheel, and there are so many very specific details I remember still perfectly to this day, and like mentioning it and people just kind of give me a look like, "Oh, I don't remember that." And I'm like, "How could you not remember that? It was so good. Come on."
Well, I guess at least me. Yeah, so for my overrated, it's Ren and Stimpy. And I think Ren and Stimpy's hilarious, but Ren and Stimpy got far too much attention and still does get far too much attention because Rugrats, like you said, I still know people that love Rugrats, even though, they still have their fond memories of Rugrats. Far less people have as many, like, I'm not saying I don't know anybody that likes it. It's just significantly less people I talk to have fond memories of Ren and Stimpy episodes or even knows references to Ren and Stimpy. But I'm saying this, I know references to Ren and Stimpy, and I'm saying it's an overrated show. So where's all these people
I
that
think it was
supposedly
the
loved
crude
it?
humor that really made it stick out at the time, which is some of the fond memories I have, because that was when my parents split time. That was one of my dad's shows, because my mom wanted nothing to do with Ren and Stimpy.
Right.
So
Well, that was
dad
the
would
thing.
watch
Your
Ren and
reaction was
Stimpy with
either
me.
this is funny or this is horrible, and I don't want to see anything to do with it, right? Rugrats is a little bit like, oh, I don't get it, but I guess there's a show. But Ren and Stimpy is offensive if you don't like it, right? So that's my overrated show. Trust me, I love Ren and Stimpy though. Powdered Toast Man's great, Log is great. I can go on with the references, but I love the show. I just don't think it deserves the hype that it has continued to get. But I do see you, Alex, with Rugrats, and Manny with Rugrats, because not just back then, but there's been this resurgence of it with the 90s nostalgia
The
bait
reboot.
products.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's like the
Unpopular
authentic
opinion?
90s. Yeah.
I like the reboot. I thought I was gonna hate it.
I only watched
Oh,
one episode of
I
it.
haven't seen it, so I can't
you-
review it.
If you go, Alex, I don't even want to look at Alex because I know I already can hear his opinion in my head.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
No, I just haven't had the time.
You'll probably hate it. Go into it looking at it as it's a reimagining. It's like an AU Rugrats, and I think it won't be so much of a shock value. I find it really refreshing, and I think it's a cool take.
I thought they did an okay job with it, with the 3D and like translating all this stuff into it. I don't think they did a horrible job with it. I'm more so referencing like like the Nick box, and Nick box is great, but there's is overwhelming, as 90s nostalgia got more and more popular over the past decade, it's turned into like Target has it, right? And like one of the main things you'll see is Rugrats. So it's like there was already a ton of Rugrats merch, and now we've
Where's the
doubled
Rocco
supply.
stuff, the Ariel Monster
where's
stuff?
Rocco?
Yeah. And that leads me to my underrated show, which is obviously Shelby Woo. Shelby Woo is a great show. Not enough people talk about it. Not enough people remember it. So I'll keep advocating it forever. It's one of the best shows Nickelodeon ever made. And I mean, it's got such a vision, and it's made by the guy that helped make Nickelodeon what it was. So you can't overlook that.
Splat Documentary, that is the name, asks, how about an episode dedicated to the SplatCon documentary? So with that being said, we have been interviewed for that documentary, and we got to share our story. And Adam's a great guy. So when that documentary comes out, go check it out. And I don't know if we'll have an episode completely dedicated to that. We'll see. But I will say I would love to have an interview of a conversation with Adam talking about the whole experience of going to SplatCon and then trying to put this documentary together and trying to get some people to go check it out, because it's going to be good. So,
and he has a lot to say. So
yes. I heard from him just not that long ago, and he's got like 10 hours that he's having to condense to 2.
No.
Yeah, he He messages me too and tells me that.
Put it out in volumes. Put it out in
Volume
parts.
one.
Each part,
It's like
2
an
episodes, 2
encyclopedia. You
hours.
just have a shelf of it.
Yeah.
We've had the same question. We had Big John and James Gallagher ask, what hidden temple team would you want to be on?
Purple parrots.
Red Jaguars.
Purple parrots, because it's my favorite color, but I think they were the worst team.
They were
when you look
always
at
the worst,
numbers.
and it made me so sad.
So maybe I shouldn't choose that. But
I don't know, the
purple.
bootskin boots of Billy the Kid. That tempo run is amazing. And that was
That's
a
a
purple
couple
parrot.
times.
That was a good one. I would say silver snakes. I like the silver snakes. I have a silver snake shirt, and I just like the way they look. And also, if you look at the season 1 episodes, Kirk, well, it was on the teleprompter. He reads it as snakes. So it's
Sean Connery.
Yeah, that's how he reads it.
Yeah. Next question we have is from Travis, our boy Travis, and he asks, what's a Nickelodeon show that you really, really want to talk about on the podcast? And I would love to have Jorde on the episode with me, and we talk about Angela Anaconda.
Oh my god. That would be
I'll
a
be
fun
on that
episode.
I want to be on that one.
No.
Let's do it.
I don't want to
Play
talk
the theme song on loop the entire episode.
My name is Angela.
I loved Angela Anaconda. You shut your mouth.
She was my idol.
I loved that show. It was so crazy and bizarro, and it makes sense of why I'm so weird now.
You said it, not me.
Most of the shows, which is really weird to say, I mean, we're going into the 8th season. Most of the shows that we really, really wanted to talk about, we have. But there are a few that we've not talked about, and we're now kind of diving a bit more into obscure or syndicated territory for the most part now. And the one that I would really like to talk about is Land of the Lost. It's not a Nickel original, but it did air on Nickelodeon. That and Tiny Toons. I really want to.
Oh yeah,
Tiny Toons.
Tiny Toons is great.
I can't believe I didn't make this my guest, my dream guest I want to have. I can't believe I thought about it. As mentioned in many episodes of The Girls Room, my memory is horrific. It's coming back. I want to talk to Steve. I want to talk to Steve, and I want to talk about Blue's Clues, and I want to talk about, because I mean he's done it, but there's just something beautiful about that man, and talk about how the show affected him, and how, you know, meeting all those kids, and like, if you don't follow him on TikTok, please go follow him on all the social media platforms. Like, he started the whole thing during COVID, with it was just him sitting and listening to you. Like, those were the videos, and like, you know, telling you that he was proud of you, and that, you know, you're trying your hardest, and that's all that matters. And like, it woke up the like inner 90s kid in me so hard, and I would love to do a deep dive on Blue's Clues and have Steve there. That would be so great.
I mean, I think we've pretty much done everything that, like, the main stuff that I wanted to talk about. I think we've talked about. I mean, I always
Shelby
love
Woo.
exactly Shelby Woo.
I mean, we can always do more of them.
obviously, Yeah, a guts episode would be really cool. I mean, we've done episodes that cover like contestants with guts, but to get Mike O'Malley,
Oh, I would
Oh,
love to get
yeah.
Michael Valley.
that would be crazy.
I don't know if I could handle a video call with
He
Mike
still has
O'Malley.
all that energy. He's just
Like,
"Yeah."
could you imagine? Like, I had, when we did the guts episode this season with the contestants, like, watching those episodes, the like breaks in between the kids actually doing the courses, like, I was like, you're too much, my man. I can't focus.
He goes hard for that show, man. He gives it a lot of energy. But any of the game shows that we haven't covered that bring their host on, I mean, Craig,
Could you imagine if we did Figure It Out and we had Summer Sanders?
I've been
Oh
trying.
yes, yes.
I've
Yeah,
been
Mark
trying.
Sanders.
Mark Summer.
Summers and Summer Sanders.
Yes.
Kirk Fogg.
You know,
Yeah.
of course. Any of them would be great. I mean, those are some Pantheon shows, those game shows. So just, I mean, there's a million stories I'm sure they could share. But Mark Summers would be cool too. I feel like Mark's energy on this show would be hilarious.
So our next question is from J Covino 3, who asks, you wake up and you're in a cartoon. Which character would you want to be and why? And I guess that depends on what kind of cartoon you're talking about, because my favorite cartoons when I was a kid were superhero cartoons. And Batman the Animated Series was my favorite, still one of my favorites. So if I could be in a cartoon, it's gonna be a superhero cartoon, and I gotta be the superhero because you get cool powers, or you can do cool things, and you get to save the day. So that would have been my pick.
I would be in Powerpuff Girls.
Ooh,
Okay.
who'd you
Oh,
be?
that's a good one.
I'd be Blossom.
For me, I'm going the opposite direction of Alex. I'm being realistic. I would be Arnold and Hey Arnold. One, he gets a cool freaking room. It's the coolest room I've ever seen in a cartoon.
Get to listen to jazz on your sweet stereo.
Yeah, you get the sweet jazz. I get a clock radio that looks like me. I don't know where he bought that.
A building full of cool, eccentric people who just want to be your friend and help you out.
Fun,
And they'll
right?
share one bathroom.
Yeah.
He lives in a cool city. He's got cool friends. I mean, outside of a few awkward situations and some snow and heat and stuff, he doesn't get into that big of trouble, really. It's pretty, regular kind of stuff. So outside of, maybe having to hunt down people's lost children every once in a while, it seems like a pretty easy place to live. I guess your parents are missing too in a thing that happened with the jungle, but you get past that.
You know,
live a normal life.
I mean, you have your pet pig Abner.
You have Abner.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. You got a
You
crazy
get to go
grandma.
learn about all kinds of city urban legends.
Exactly.
Go on
Yeah.
adventures.
With your pal Gerald.
Yeah.
Seems like a cool place. So as far as animated shows go, I think I'd pick Hey Arnold.
I'd pick The Simpsons. I think that would be a very interesting world to be in. To throw away at cutaway gags before they were a thing, and pretty much just have random celebrities visit you just to like get a quart of milk or get a squishy at the Quickie Mart or something. And also like going home, you get to do something different when you sit on the couch every time you come home. So that would be very interesting. And quick wit all day long. I think that'll be a lot of fun. So I think the Simpsons world would be a very big universe to be a part of, and I think it'd be pretty cool.
Next one, we have Nickelodeon Collector. Our boy Russ asks, keep 2, delete 1. Nicktoons, Snick, or Nickelodeon Studios? I am going to say, I mean, either which way, it's going to suck whichever one you pick. But I'm going to say the reason Nick Studios exists was because of Nicktoons and Snick. And you can still enjoy the network far, far more. So I'm going to say if I had to delete one, it would be Nick Studios.
I'm going the same way Alex went. One, because I never really got to go to Nickelodeon Studios truly. Got to go outside the front of it when I was young. But so I basically lived a whole life without it. So yeah, but I don't know if I would have been the same kid if I didn't have Snick and Nicktoons to come home to after school. So
I do the same. The Nicktoons are the most nostalgic to me. And Snick is where I think I really learned to appreciate comedy and like sketch comedy, and I wouldn't give that up for the world.
It's gonna sound like I'm repeating, but it's just I really think I only visited Nick Studios once in my life, and that was great. But
yeah, it's cool.
I lived my whole life, like Jorde said, without really going there regularly.
Yeah.
So I'd say delete that. And Snick, I've always looked forward to Snick when I was a kid. It's one of like the very earliest memories I have as a kid, where it's like you get to stay up late Saturday and just watch your favorite shows.
Heath Barrett asks, what series do you feel ended too quickly? For me, Space Cases. That is Heath's response.
Mm.
There are a handful of shows that I think ended too quickly, but if I had to pick one, I'm actually going to say Salute Your Shorts. It,
Oh,
it was
that was mine.
it was only 2 seasons, and they canceled it because they were going to move. And then a lot of the cast couldn't do it. If they were able to keep it where they were and just keep doing other seasons, there's so many other things that they could have done because they were still top of their game, and I would have loved to have seen more of Salute Your Shorts.
That was mine. I'll repeat. I Salute Your Shorts was one of my all-time favorite live action shows on there, and I wish we had more. It was so good.
Can I flip it on its head and go what shows I felt ran too long?
SpongeBob.
Still going.
I'm gonna say Kenan and Kel
Really?
yeah, it ran too much. I ran too long, I should say. Because
All
in my
that.
opinion, yeah, that's true. But in my opinion, I think Kenan and Kel was great season 1, and season 2 I felt like was a perfect season. Season
Especially
3
the way
was,
it ended.
I know, with a drama, and they played it great. So season 3 was all right, but season 4, I felt like they were chugging a little too much. Like, if they would have done the Lord of the Rings route and filmed them all at the same time, I think that would have been better. But I feel the problem is aging. I
Yep.
feel like when Kenan and Kel were aging, you were not believing their situations that they were getting in. So it seemed a little fake for season 4, even though it was still all right, and I love the series. I do. But that I felt ran a little too long. And what series I thought ended the quickest was Wienerville, because they pretty much were changing the channel's audience, and that's why Wienerville got shoved away to the wayside, was because of that.
I've got a two-part answer. As far as like a show that ended too soon, Finders Keepers, the show, it had a pretty good formula to it. It's actually a really engaging show to watch. I don't think there's anything wrong with the show. I think they just had too many game shows and they didn't, they used Mike O'Malley for something a little bit more important. Like cuts. But yeah, I mean it was a good show. Like a good formula, really fun to watch. The holiday episodes are funny. But yeah, I think it ended too soon. But my two-part to that two-part answer is Shelby Woo. Now, Shelby Woo did run for a little while. And my complaint is not where it ended, how it ended, or ending too soon. It's the writer's strike and everything that happened. Took it away from Cocoa Beach, moved it up north, and it changed the vibe of the show very much. One, surfer music doesn't make sense when you live in a city. So the theme and everything kind of became irrelevant to what was actually being shown to you. It made sense when you live in a beachside surf town called Cocoa Beach. Doesn't make sense when you're supposed to be in the middle of a city. So yeah, it's not so much that it ended, but it changed too early on. And you just, if you watch the series and you fall in love with it, you'll find yourself wanting more and more episodes of those early seasons because the actors had such great chemistry, everybody together. So that's my two-part answer.
This one will be a very short answer. Travis asks, "What is the meaning of life?" And the answer is 42.
It's true.
Travis also asks, if you could star in your own Nickelodeon show, what would you call it? And there's a reason I said Controlled Chaos earlier, because that would be what I would call it.
I know what I can pull. I have a joke of what my memoir would be entitled, and so I'll just pull a chunk of that and make it. And I think it would be called Duct Tape and Dreams.
I think I'd have a game show, and I think I'd call it Nothing to Lose.
Oh man. Okay, I gave it some thought, and I think mine would be called Distraction, and it would just be a show that constantly follows me getting distracted every 5 minutes by a different task. I'd be like, is he gonna go back and take care of that?
Nope.
I don't, who knows?
You are gonna
Find
have
out next
such
episode.
a good neurodivergent audience that's just like, oh man, been there.
Smigalodian. Ryan again asks, would you ever want to start up a small Nickelodeon con? The answer is yes. I actually got a little upset at the beginning of last year because I said in our season 6 overview that I would love for us to get our own con going. We'll be the first nostalgic podcast to get their own con going. And since we're Splat Attack, we'd call it SplatCon. And then 6 weeks later, they announced SplatCon, and I was so frustrated about it. But, of course, I knew that some of the people involved, and I was happy to go and support. But I was so frustrated because that was my name. I was going to call it that. But I will say that that is something very, very real that I am looking into and seeing how I could get that going, because that is something I feel needs to happen. And I'm working on that. How it's going to happen, I don't know, but that is a real thing. Sean from Real Life Perspective Show gives us some broken grammar. What's the craziest you guys been slimed? I'm assuming where's the craziest place you guys have been slimed? I have not been slimed, and I do not intend to be. It's not my thing. And I think Manny has only been slimed once.
Yeah, right in
And-
this very room.
Yeah, you're looking at it.
Yeah, this is the place. Much to not much to see here.
I had a close call. I was almost like officially slimed. It was like Manny, the one time I got to go to any of the Nickelodeon studios, and it was in Florida when we were on vacation, and I got chosen to be slimed and to participate in something that was going on. It wasn't like a show, but something with the tour. And I was an incredibly shy child, and I immediately backed out. And 35-year-old Kiley is very upset
You
with
fool!
You fool!
You chose poorly.
I did. You chose poorly.
The choice is yours and yours alone.
I haven't been slimed. No, I played with Gak as a kid. So
Yeah.
when
Close
I played
enough.
with kids like slime, it's supposed to be something similar to some capacity. But so I don't understand the questions like where I was or where on my body. So my hands at my house.
Only got 3 questions left. This one I'm going to pass towards Manny, and specifically Manny. Travis asks, whatever happened to predictability? The Milkman, the Paperboy, and evening TV.
I guess this whole world is confusing me. So, I'd say it just changed with the times, and people live together in this nice house, and they call it a full house, I think.
Some sort of large filled house.
Yeah,
full
this
house.
large filled house with kids and high antics and twins that only appear to be one kid.
So we've got 2 questions left here. One,
I don't know this next one.
yeah, I was gonna say this.
Who is this guy?
This
Who
guy
is
seems
this
like
person?
this seems like a total douche. But J Oramus 25. I don't know who that is. It's Manny. For those of you who don't know,
Who
asks,
asked this question?
who asked this one? Have you ever thought you'd be doing or ever had interest in a podcast before being involved with Splat Attack? Manny, you've got a podcast now. Is that true for you? Have you thought about doing a podcast before you joined the crew here?
No, to be honest, no. I started this whole podcasting thing, honestly, as a fluke, because back in 2017 or 2018, I saw that there was this new Nickelodeon podcast called The Big Orange Couch. And I sent them a question asking them, like, well, I'm a huge Wienerville fan. I've even made like the Wienerville Wikipedia page and have tons of information to share. If you guys ever do a Wienerville episode, please let me know. And they got back to me 3 years later, and I got to be a guest on their show. And then I got to be a guest on other podcasts as well. And I was like, I really like doing this. This is a lot of fun. And luckily, Brett and you reached out to me asking me to be a part of your show as well. And I got to do an episode. My very first episode was the Wienerville Hanukkah special. And I got to talk to Mark and Max face to face for the very first time. And it was totally a dream come true. And the biggest dream that came true was I got to be a crew member with you guys. And it's been a tremendous ride these past 3 years. It's been incredible. I never thought I'd be doing a podcast, so that's what I say.
I don't know if I'm the odd one out. I am a podaholic. Podaholic. I love podcasts. Um, and this is something I've never told Alex, so this will be live reaction. I have always wanted to be on a podcast. I've always wanted to have a podcast. I tried once or twice to kind of like plan one out and figure it out, and then I always talked myself out of it, and I was like, no one wants to hear that. Just don't even friggin' worry about it. And then once I gave up my dreams of having or being on a podcast, then like all my friends started having podcasts, and I was and no one ever asked me to be a part of their podcast, and I was like, okay, cool, guess I'll figure out something else to do. And then I ended up starting doing streaming tabletop games, which was kind of like my own version of having a podcast. Because I even toyed around with taking our streaming audio, because like I have all of our video, and like just pulling the audio from it and putting it up as a podcast, because there are a handful of Let's Plays that I like to listen to that way, because I can listen to it at work. And then Alex reached out to me because Manny was on the first episode I was ever on this podcast, which was the Wienerville episode. And Alex was like, do you want to do this? And I was like, oh yeah, I love Wienerville. And in the back of my head, I was like, I get to be on a podcast. This is great. And then you asked me back, and then I got to do the Geraldine Laybourne thing, which was so cool. And then 2 days later, you were like, hey, you want to be on my podcast real time? And I was like, oh yeah, that'd be really cool. And really, I was like, making dreams come true. I'm finally on a podcast.
For me, I wouldn't say necessarily I always wanted to be on a podcast. I love being on a podcast, and it's very fun, and I love hanging out with my friends, and we all get to make the thing. I've always been more of a visual person. I honestly, I think my voice sounds terrible. I know most people think their voices sound terrible. It sounds extra bad now because I'm still kind of sick. But it podcasts, I just kind of fell into it with them. I listen to a lot of podcasts, just like Kiley was saying. There's some great podcasts that I've like. Harmontown was a huge podcast for me. I loved listening to Harmontown back in the day. And the Welcome to Night Vale was another really cool like podcast. I loved what they did with that. It's just I never really knew what kind of niche I would fall into if I did a podcast. Um, so when as time went on and I got into nostalgia and my nostalgia page and collecting and everything, it became more of an obvious fit. And then been helping Brett and Alex do the podcast, certain elements, and helping them with other projects outside of the podcast for years. And so eventually just kind of naturally evolved to that point. So yeah. And Alex obviously asked me to come on full time to be part of the podcast. So I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Alex. So that's the truth.
And my very, very brief answer to this question, no, I did not. I've always loved entertaining. It's one of my favorite things to do. I like talking about just random nostalgia things and connecting with people on, I don't want to say I don't like deep conversations, because I do, but most people don't want to start there. They like to talk about things that they enjoy, and it slowly dives into more deeper things. That's just how things go with me. And this podcast is a direct result of that. But no, I've never really had an interest in podcasts, either listening or being involved in one. And it just sort of came to be with diving into the interest from Nickelodeon and nostalgia and things like that. And I've said the birth of this several times, so I'm not going to share that story this time. But no, I had no interest leading up to this. But our final question, which I'm going to give 3-word answer to this one. Gerard Grimshaw asks, "What is your favorite Nickelodeon movie?" Harriet the Spy.
Good burger.
Jordy's going to say Snow Days.
I was gonna say Snow Day because Snow Day
I forgot
is
about
just
Snow
the evolution.
Days.
It's the evolution of Pete and Pete.
Oh,
It's basically Pete
man.
and Pete as a movie.
Yeah.
But it's also
See,
got
which
Chevy
is so
Chase.
funny. I loved Snow Day.
Yeah, and the marketing on it was great.
Really?
But I don't like Pete. I gotta go back and
Interesting.
rewatch it. I gotta go back and
Interesting.
You got to
rewatch.
watch Pete and Pete episodes
Yeah,
and
I
rewatch
gotta
it.
watch
You'll
it again.
see how much it really is. Just
Now
a Pete
it
and
makes
Pete
sense
episode.
to me. Okay, well, okay, we're gonna revisit that.
As particularly the Christmas episode. If you go watch the Christmas episode, you'd be like, "This is well, I'm watching the same
Yes.
thing
Okay.
again."
Yes.
But yeah, it's yeah, that's my answer.
Aha, I knew it.
I forgot how many there are. Like I just kind of blocked
Rugrats meets
my...
the Wild Thornberries. Or Rugrats Go Wild.
honestly, it's Rugrats in Paris.
But that is going to be it for our season 7 overview. A very, very special thank you to all of our guests who came out for this episode or for this season. And that from celebrities to other content creators, it really means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to the crew that you guys took the time to come out. Thank you to all of our patrons who have supported us and keep us going. Thank you to all of you who have been listening and watching these episodes. We couldn't do the show without all of your support. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
And thank you to everyone, not only the crew, but the audience as well, being so welcoming. It's been a great first season, and I'm
Got one season under your belt.
so
Now you
thankful.
just gotta
I
get-
got it. I'm a professional now.
It wouldn't be an episode if we didn't have our closing question. And our closing question for all of you Slimesters is, what are some of your favorite moments, episodes, or guests from this season? You can write to us via email at splatattack2021@gmail.com. You can DM us on all of our socials. Just look for @SplatAttackPodcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you haven't already, there's a button right there. Click it. Click, 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 click. Interact with us wherever you can. We're always happy to hear from you. Until next time, crew, will you help me close up the studio, please? We've got some new rooms to get opened up before the start of the next season.
I will go get the forklift and start construction on the new rooms.
No, Manny, the rooms are built. We just need to paint and decorate them. We don't need you to go get the forklift.
I'm gonna see if I can track down Henry, Phoebe, Otis, and Olivia. They all seem to be chasing each other around, and I don't need pet hair all over the grocery.
Yeah, let's keep things clean at the very least.
Well, and I need to work on a new PC setup for next season. I may have overloaded our servers. So, with all the guests, all these renders, we have a lot for next season. So, am I losing you there?
Well, catch you later, Slimes. This episode was recorded at Splat Attack Studios, in virtual home studios, though none in Florida.